This video will be about how to measure the flow rate. So this setup, I'm using a different filter. I'm using a filter for a Muka air cleaner instead of the Roomba filters that I was using. And I want to make sure that I still get about 2 liters per second of a flow rate. So what I did is I have a 50-liter trash bag, and I set it up so that I can hook one end of the bag up to an outlet coming from the filter. And now all I have to do is time the bag, and then I'll know how many seconds to fill up 50 liters. And then I just divide that by 50 liters to get, or I divide 50 liters by that time that I get to find out how many liters per second. So now all I need to do is set up a timer. And right now I have the fan blowing in because I found that for low resistance filters, there's not too much of a difference between which way the fan's blowing. And the filter absorbs some of the noise, but another key feature with this type of do-it-yourself setup is if I mount the filter to the intake of the fan, I'm going to put some more stresses. In general, I'm going to put more stresses on the housing of the fan than if I mount the fan by its mouth like this. And reducing those stresses on the housing of the fan keeps internal parts from rubbing together and also helps the fan to be more quiet. So with that said, I'm going to time how long it takes to fill up this bag. And my timer didn't start, so I'm going to try this again. Make sure I empty all the air out of the bag and start. This filter is actually using a little bit less power than the fan set up with the other filter, which suggests that there's a little more resistance to the air, but that's not making too much of a difference. I filled it in about 27 seconds. Now, because this bag is a little bit stretchy, I'm probably only accurate to within the nearest 10 liters. And if I'm filling in the neighborhood of 2 liters per second, that comes out to really only accurate to the nearest 5 seconds, but it still gives me a rough idea. In this case, since it took 27 seconds to fill, I know that I'm close to approximately 2 liters per second, which is what I'm aiming for. 2.5 liters per second would actually be ideal, but I like running at 5 volts because that way I don't need a converter. This converter would let me move the voltage up and down, but if I can get 5 volts to work for me, then that saves a part, which makes a cheaper and easier design. Again, this was just a video on how to measure the flow rate, but also gives you some idea of how to mount the fan. So you just need some way to attach the filter to something. In this case, it's attached to a jar. And then you attach that jar to a hood, or in this case, it's attached to another container that I'm moving air in and out of, and then you have the fan on the other side. That's really all there is to it. The only thing is the device that you're wearing, you would replace this soup container with the actual hood that you would wear over your head.